Many of the things I'm going to be discussing in this video are subjective preferences. I'm going to run through lens selection, video settings, and picture profile settings to get what I feel like is the best looking image out of the Lumix GX85. I'm going to try and keep this somewhat budget friendly when it comes to lens choice. Let's get started. The way I create a film-like or cinematic image, if you will, is opting for inexpensive manual lenses that have plenty of character and resolves your image in a way that mitigates the effect of the optical low-pass filter being removed from the GX85. The lack of the OLPF in this camera creates a sharper image, so taking that digital edge off the look with used manual glass really helps to sell the cinematic look. I'd like to use the Nikon 24mm 2.8 AIS and the Nikon 50mm 1.4 AIS. They're great lenses. The way I adapt those lenses is using a Nikon F to Canon EOS mount adapter. Then I mount that onto a Viltrox EF to Micro Four Thirds speed booster. The speed booster allows in one extra stop of light and reduces the GX85 crop factor and gives you a shallower depth of field at the same time. I also use a variable ND filter on all of my lenses to dial in my shutter speed to double the frame rate for getting the most natural looking motion blur. I specifically use the SimMod of variable ND, which is on the higher end of most variable NDs, but for good reason. I have no major color cast issues and no dreaded X pattern that's found in many cheap variable NDs. The biggest selling point on the GX85 for me was the 4K recording option. For 90% of my shooting needs, I use 4K 24p. The 24 progressive frames are great for creating smooth moving images that have a cinema-like feel, since essentially all movies are shot and displayed in 24p with the exception of a few. On occasion, I will use the 1080-60p option if I want to shoot something in slow motion, that I will either end up upscaling to a 4K timeline or a 1080 timeline and upload that sequence up to Instagram or somewhere that resolution isn't as important because the size of the viewing devices. With that in mind, I'm going to dive into my picture profile settings that I use to create the best looking video I've gotten out of my GX85. I prefer natural because of the Cine-like skin tone issues that many run into, and since I have new viewers, I'm going to run through my specific settings once again. -5 contrast, -5 sharpness, -5 noise reduction, and -3 saturation. I found this to be a beautiful starting point to grade later on in post. Now I'm going to talk about a few tools inside the GX85 that will help you get the best looking image out of it. Zebras are important to identify what parts of your image is losing detail, and this is specific to the highlights. I set my zebras to 100%, so the zebra stripes will start to display as soon as a part of my image hits that 100%, which in turn means I'm starting to lose detail in that part of the image. I also enable the histogram to monitor where my luma values are lying within the frame. Exposing to the right on the GX85 is a great way to expose your GX85 sensor. Exposing to the right essentially means your histogram luma values are lying heavily in the right side of it and dialing it in right before your zebra stripes start to show. This method maximizes your dynamic range since you're pumping up the brightness of the shadows and dark parts of your image while still retaining your highlight information. This means your image will look flatter, and it will require a little bit more post-processing to expand your luminance back to a normal viewing range. To nail focus on the GX85, I'm going to recommend a few things. The MF Assist Display function is very helpful for getting sharp focus. I double tap the screen to enable it, and I use this in the pip mode over the full mode because I like to see the full frame while trying to lock focus. The MF guide is helpful to quickly find out if you are focusing to infinity or to the minimum focusing distance. It uses a mountain icon to reference infinity and a flower icon to reference minimum focus. Peaking is one of my favorite tools. Peaking helps you to identify what's in focus within the frame. So I set my peaking to green since our eyes are most sensitive to that color, and I set it to high so I can figure out what's in focus quickly and easily. These 3 focusing tools will help you to never miss focus again. Hopefully. I hope you found this video helpful or somewhat insightful, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. who would help me to continue on making these types of videos. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time.